Oh my.
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 Oh, wow. It's been beautiful, really. Today has been quite a good day talking about parenting, the digital teen.
Yes.
And there's something before we took the break that you were talking to me about how you feel like teenagers are not held as responsible, and we don't really allow our teenagers to suffer the consequences of their actions.
Oh my God.
Yet we know
Yes.
every action,
Yes.
every choice, every word has its own consequences.
True.
And teenagers are not too young
Yes.
to be held accountable or to be allowed to suffer the consequences. And so, but unfortunately, we're raising teenagers today who feel like they're invincible
Yes.
to some of these things.
Very true.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Oh, discipline. You can only discipline a child because you love them. Take an example of God Himself. As long as we are legitimate children
Yes.
to Him,
Yes.
He disciplines us.
Yes.
And sometimes He allows us to suffer consequences of our actions.
When they're not easy.
Are they any discipline at the moment? It's not sweet.
Yes. Isn't that what the Bible says, really?
But look at the fruit, the end
Later.
product.
If you embrace it,
Yes.
and you go through it.
And
Yeah.
even for our children, our teenagers, the discipline we give them, it may not be something they enjoy.
Right.
At the end of the day, you have the fruit, the end product, you can see it.
Those who endure through
Yes.
the discipline,
Ooh.
yes, the results are amazing.
And we come, we jump into rescuing them too early.
Yes, because you put them into something you want them to learn.
Yes.
Then you feel like, oh, they're drowning. You go and pick them back up. And guess what? They get used to that. They know mom and dad will always pick me up. You know, you put them on a timeout. Even little kids.
Yes.
Again, I
Yes.
like to go back.
Yeah.
They start from right there. If this kid knows, you put them back in the back room and on timeout, and then they start banging the door and throwing themselves down and throwing tantrums. You go, so,
Right.
oh baby, oh daddy, you go bring them out. And I love you, kiss, kiss. It's okay to tell them love, but let them first serve
Yes.
their term behind the door, right?
You gave an example of how your grandmother, if you don't work, no eating.
No eating.
And literally you go sleep.
Hungry,
Yes.
and maybe you didn't even have lunch, and it doesn't matter
Right.
because she said one thing: that will not kill you.
One night will kill you.
It won't kill you.
Right.
And she would tell us, hunger, one night hunger will not kill you. And I know I'm doing what God has put me here to do. Let me tell you, I hated that. And actually, I hated her for that moment.
Right.
But today, I'm the person I am because of the person that she made me into, and because of the discipline that she instilled in me and the consequences she allowed me to go through and to suffer. Yes.
And I totally agree that we need to allow our teenagers to suffer if they make a choice. And rightfully, that choice will not kill them.
Yeah.
There are those choices they make and you're like, hey, now this one, I have to be hands-on. I
If
have
it's
to rescue them.
life-threatening, yes.
I realized my niece would forget carrying some few items. Okay, I forgot this when I was going to school.
Deal with it.
Oh, deal with it.
Right.
And I realized, is it really needed in school? If it's not needed, I'm not rescuing you. You forgot your pocket money. Ooh.
And
right.
you gave it to her,
Yes,
and she forgot.
you forgot your pocket
okay,
money.
you didn't need it.
You did.
You learn how to live with that.
So next time,
that saves you.
Next time, she will remember.
Yes.
And she will come up to, we also allow our kids to grow. Even their mindset grows.
Absolutely.
At the moment we keep on rescuing them, they will have a fixed mindset that does not want to grow. But the moment you allow
They
them
become
to
complex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we raise irresponsible adults.
Yes.
From the way we are parenting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because from there they are adults.
Yes.
And then you think they'll start learning when you now throw them out there into the world? They will not start learning then.
Don't happen.
Yes.
So it's good that we allow them to suffer those consequences.
Absolutely.
Those consequences that will kill them.
But make sure, before we allow them to suffer the consequences, we make sure we have had a talk with them.
Ooh,
we make sure
right.
they understand.
You have agreed.
We make sure they understand. It's a relationship. It's a partnership. But by the way, if you do this, this is what I am going to do, or this is what is bound to happen.
And these are the consequences of
These are the consequences of this. So they will not say, you never taught me. Because you cannot hold somebody accountable for something you never taught them.
They didn't know.
And especially teenagers or our children, because they don't know any better.
Yes.
But yet, when they know better, we expect them to do better.
Yes.
When they don't do better, we do better
Right.
by allowing them to suffer the consequences. Otherwise, we become liars. We told them there will be consequences. We don't impose the consequences. So we become liars. They take us to be liars. They get too familiar with that. And so they'll be there. Mom will always say this. Dad will always say this. So they will do nothing. Do you know they even talk among themselves with their friends? And they say, oh, no, mom is just making noise. One time I overheard a boy talk about the mom. Mom ushinda tu kupiga kelele. She'll just make noise, and that would be that. And you know what? It became just that. And even to this day, their relationship is still kind of severed because they never had that dialogue. They never had that relationship. And yes, the mother didn't have education. And this boy went all the way to university. But the mother is the one who educated the boy. But he grew too big in his head, and he always took the mother's correction for noise. She'll just make noise and get over it. And so even right now, he's just there. He's just there, almost 30. Doesn't have much to show for his life.
Right.
But the mother doesn't have much to guide him either, especially into the world of career. So that's why it's very important from the time they're younger to make sure that they take your word for it. Don't let them, overrun your life, even if you have less education than they do. Because you didn't have the privilege that they had. If you didn't have the privilege, now you're giving them a privilege. Yes, education is a right, but to take them all the way to the university is a privilege. And so you must make sure that they take your word for it from the time they're younger. And then they will learn, even if they're educated. They will never be above you. They will never be too educated for you to be a parent. Or for them to hear you, to understand, or to let you have, correct them. Right. But if you don't, they take your word for noise. Correction is not there. And then, now they're too educated for you, right? Especially if they have gadgets and they know how to use gadgets, which you've enabled them to have, and now they use the gadgets to actually insult you.
Oh my goodness.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
I'm telling you, the reason as to why any person who is given a gun, they are taken through a session.
Yes.
And even a training.
Yes.
How to use this gun. Because you can end up killing yourself using the gun. Absolutely. Or you can end up killing everyone.
It's just, it's fun.
Yes.
Right?
And one area, and I know we are living in an era where, yes, we need these tools. We need these gadgets. Some of these gadgets, our kids are using them to learn. At the same time, I'm realizing we have not prepared our children how to use these gadgets. It's true.
And it's in a world that is so porous now. Social media is such a porous place. Anything is right in the palm of their hands.
And it's not restricted.
They can commit suicide right there on that gadget. They can kill somebody else right now, just like a gun, right? They could actually destroy the whole family right there. I mean, there's so much they can do with it. Like you said, if you've not taught them, you've not taught them the discipline that they should have while using those tools. It's just like a fool having a gun that hasn't been trained. Like you said, they can kill themselves or just open it up and blow up the whole family or community.
As teenagers, as we said earlier, they have that, their mind absorbs a lot.
Absolutely.
And whenever you tell them something, they want to counter-check with their ears.
Yes, or the internet.
Yes. And that's an area as parents we need to work on. Just because now I'm middle class, I can afford this gadget whenever they ask. Well, if possible, I hope they won't overhear this, the kids, our teenagers. if possible, can you be able to track? Can you put I know nowadays there are those apps or even softwares that you can be able to see what is coming in. The things that are happening out here, our kids are even chatting with predators.
And it's okay for them to know that you're tracking it anyway. It's okay for them to know. Again, we won't do anything out of fear. You're doing it for their own good and for your sanity. And it's true, yeah. They're getting lured by. And look at what has been happening lately. These young girls that are just being lured into Airbnbs and they're killed because somebody presents themselves as a millionaire and what they want is just things.
And these are mature people.
And these are people. And then the first moment they tell you, let's meet at a B&B, you don't even think, why should I meet a stranger for the first time in an Airbnb? That's already should be red flags going off everywhere. But if you haven't trained your child well, if the child they haven't been taught to discern things. You know, discernment is really a God-given gift. But there's a way they could use the intelligence to think, no, I cannot meet you there. Teenagers, young people, if you're watching this is for you. It doesn't matter whether your parents have taught you this or they haven't, whether you have the discernment or you don't. If you meet a person on social media, somebody that you do not know, and they're telling you the first time, let's meet at an Airbnb or whatever, suggest a coffee house, suggest a restaurant that is open daytime, not at night. Daytime, and still make sure a friend or two know where you're going, who you're meeting. Let them have a photo of the person that you're going to go meet, and meet it in an open place. In an open place, it's very hard for anybody to do anything or to carry out their scheme. But if you agree, they have you like this. You agree to meet them at an Airbnb, which they have rented. You have no track of all that. You end up there. And really, it's so sad to see so many young lives that sad. And it's not to say that only girls are the victims. Even young men are going to be victims if they're not already victims. We probably just haven't seen enough of them on news. But I'm sure there are some young men who have also fallen victim to the same thing.
Very true.
Very immature to follow somebody into a
I know you can imagine.
Hideout.
You can imagine now for a teenager. So naive.
Yes, very naive.
Very naive. So if I'm told we meet and
you're so beautiful, you're so handsome.
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And then when they hear those words, they think, oh, this is an angel calling me for a meeting.
Right.
So we need to also train. And that's why we also, being also part of the point, is we are helping them to use or have the screen time limited.
Yes, you must have. There's a limit.
Screen time.
Time for everything.
From morning to evening.
Evening or next morning.
Oh,
what are
my
you talking
goodness.
about?
They're not even sleeping.
They come from school, others go to school with them, or they come home from school before they put their bag down. They're on the screen. I mean, it's just too much garbage. And you know what goes in,
garbage in,
is
garbage
what comes out. Yes, it's true. So you must feed your mind with what you want to see out here. And so even you as parents, you must choose what you're feeding your children on, and the limits, their limits. And going back to this predator story, Peter. I think it also comes down to the parents. Parents, let's be intentional on affirming and approving of our children. Let them feel approved right from home. Hold them accountable for their actions. Make them suffer the consequences for their actions and stuff, but at the same time affirm them. Let them feel loved. Let them not feel loved or hear I love you for the first time from a stranger when they're 16, when they're 18, when they're 22. Teach them that you love them. Teach them to trust you. Show them love. Don't just tell them, but show them. Sometimes they may not see it as love, because sometimes love will come in form of punishment, which you're holding them accountable. But it's still love. Let them know, I'm doing this because I love you. I'm doing this for your own good. I want to see you turn out to be a great young man or a great young lady. And I think if we do that and then create a trust with them, you'll find that some of these stories can either reduce or disappear, because if I know I feel approved or loved by my parents, it will be very difficult for me to do some of these things behind my parents' back and not telling them, what I'm doing, where I'm going, I'll probably even run it by them. Hey, there's this guy I met on this media platform, and they're telling me this, and this. And then the parents are aware, and they will caution you.
Right.
Yeah, so let's make sure we have, we create a dialogue or a platform where we can have dialogue with their kids, and even as they become late teens and early adulthood, they can communicate with us. Yes, yes. They shouldn't run into things out of desperation.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, and talking about also, one of the complaints when I interact with teenagers, one of the complaints they complain about the parents is that they never see anything good about me.
And that's what I was talking about: approval, affirmation,
right?
And all that. Let them hear something good. Let them not just hear bad.
Let us also see the
even if it's one good thing out of some of them can be work, Peter, where you're like, man, you turn like this, they've spilled this, you turn like this, they've broken this, you turn like this, you say this, they go there, you say let's go this way, they go this. I mean, some of them can be quite a handful. But at least there must be one good thing. Even if you are firm by faith, you say, I believe in you. Even if you don't see anything good in them,